This is a book written in Japan. The title is Ivermectin. I'm a publishing producer of this book and also editor of this book. I was editor-in-chief of Daily Manila Shimbun until last August. During the time of the Manila Shimbun, I contacted with Kitasato University, Tokyo, Japan, because ivermectin was developed by Dr. Satoshi Omura. I made several interviews with a professor of Kitasato University. At that time, so even Philippine media wrote so many articles about ivermectin. After I made an interview with a professor of Kitasato University, they also want to know the updated situation of COVID-19 of the Philippines. So we start to exchange information. I recommended them, why don't you issue a book on ivermectin? So they agreed that, and we start to find the publisher. Fortunately, one of the big publishing company of Kawade Shobo agreed to publish this book. Now, this book is one of the best-seller. 40,000 copies has already sold. According to the ranking of the Amazon Japan, #1 book of the medical area. Satoshi Omura, he's 80s and is an expert in the development of macrolide antibiotics. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in physiology or medicine in 2015 for his work in saving hundreds of millions of people from oncocerca diseases and other diseases by ivermectin. He's a highly respected professor in Japan. It is a substance produced by a fungus called ivermectin, which Dr. Omura discovered by unexpectedly in the soil of Shizuoka Prefecture, Japan. First developed as an anthelmintic for animals, ivermectin was launched in the 1990s by Merck and Company, and it became Merck's #1 selling drug for 20 years as animal drugs. Later, it became a human drug for the treatment of oncocerca diseases. It was called also liver blindness, caused by gnats in Central and South America and Africa. Later in the Philippines, ivermectin has also used as human medicine for lymphatic filariasis and scabies. They are infected people in northern Luzon. In addition, because of its antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties, ivermectin has been tested in vitro and clinical trial by doctors around the world to see if it could be effective in the prevention and the treatment of COVID-19, including the Omicron strain. Because of its antiviral properties, it may also be effective as a treatment for dengue fever and Ebola, even Ebola. Mr. Omura pointed out that it could also be used as a preventive drug for cancer, although this is a subject for future research. Simply put, it prevents coronavirus from entering the cell. On the outside of the coronavirus, there is a substance called spike protein that has protrusions, and their protrusions bind to the cell and enter the cell. But ivermectin has been shown to prevent binding of the spike protein to the cell. Ivermectin also suppresses inflammation in the lungs and other parts of the body, which can kill patients. I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you how much to take that medicine, but I have been taking 30 milligrams every 2 weeks, as recommended by a doctor at the Kitasato University in Japan. Fortunately, I have not been infected with COVID-19 so far. Kitasato University recommended that infected people take 60 milligrams over 3 days, and then another 60 milligrams on the 7th day. 3 of my acquaintances were infected and asked for ivermectin to me, so I gave them. They took that dose, and all 3 infected recovered from within 2 weeks. They became negative. Ivermectin has already been administered more than 3 billion times to humans around the world as a medicine for oncocercal diseases, and its safety has been confirmed. The only side effect are mild diarrhea and rashing, about 1% of people. According to Mr. Omura, it has been confirmed that it is safe to take up to 8 times the indicated dose. However, it is still used as an anthelmintic for cattle and horses. For example, by injecting or drinking the same amount of solution As for cattle, it is dangerous. The U.S. FDA, U.S. Physicians Group, even WHO and Merck Company, the manufacturer of ivermectin, deny its effectiveness to COVID-19. But there is no evidence to support this denial. A Japanese professor at Kitasato University pointed out that the main reason for the denial is that they are concerned that if the effectiveness of ivermectin against new COVID-19 is recognized, they will not be able to sell the vaccine or the new drug for COVID-19. The reason is that the patent for ivermectin has already expired and generic drugs are already available. They are inexpensive at around only $1 a pill. Merck Company, the manufacturer of ivermectin, is developing a new oral drug for COVID-19 that costs tens of dollars a pill. And if the effectiveness of ivermectin is recognized, the new drug will not be sold. I think this is a terrible story of collusions between pharmaceutical companies and drug regulators. For example, in India, the head of the WHO office is being sued by lawyers for refusing to recognize the effectiveness of ivermectin for COVID-19. However, there is some good news. A pharmaceutical company in Nagoya, Japan, called Kowa, is currently conducting clinical trials on 1,000 people, and the result will be out soon. If the pharmaceutical company's clinical trials prove that the drug is effective to COVID-19, the Japanese government will officially approve the ivermectin as a treatment for the COVID-19. President of Kowa knows that the company will not be able to make a profit, but he is willing to go ahead with clinical trials and sale of ivermectin with no regard for profit to save human society. There has never been a clinical trial conducted by a pharmaceutical company except Kowa in the world until now. This is because it is not profitable to conduct costly clinical trial for a drug that is already available in generic form. The result of the Kowa's clinical trials are expected to be announced in maybe March. This should change the way the world looks at ivermectin.